Way back before we had currencies, we were using livestocks. But the problem with livestocks, it was very hard to trade with. So let's say I have a big farm with chicken, goats, cows, and wanted to buy a pair of shoes. That means I had to find a merchant that was close to me that also wanted something that I have. And I tell myself, you know what? I take one chicken and I trade it for the pair of shoes. But what if the chicken is more valuable than a pair of shoes? How do I make change? Do I cut the chicken in half? What if the merchant doesn't accept that? So you see, when it came to divisibility, it was very hard. And over time, we started using things like rocks, seashells, depending on the area. It was still, well, it was better than the livestock because you have more flexibility on the things that you can buy with, but you were still restricted to one specific area. Some of them were not very durable, heavy, hard to carry around, And the ultimate peak was when we started using gold and silver as currency, as money. When the whole globe decided that gold and silver are the ultimate money. Then things started to get a whole lot better. So that means you can go around the world and trade because everybody was using gold and silver. As a matter of fact, you can still use gold and silver from many centuries ago in today's market and still be able to purchase things with it. That's how valuable they are. But you cannot say the same things for past fiat currencies because they don't last. They come and they go. The success rate of fiat currency is a complete zero. They don't last at all, even those who are pegged by gold or silver. The reason why, because the people who have control of the money supply, the currency, they always abuse the powers. So one example, let's say you have this imaginary country using gold as money, and they have banknotes pegged to the gold at a 1-to-1 ratio. So let's say you have 50 pieces of gold and 50 banknotes pegged to the gold. They start using it. At the beginning, I guess it's a good system. But over time, they'll be like, we need to expand this part of the military. We need to expand this part of the country. We need to do this, whatever. So we'll print more banknotes. So now you have 100 banknotes, but only 50 pieces of gold. So you are devaluing the currency, which is the paper notes. But when you put more currency in the market, prices are going to rise, but you don't have enough gold to back it up. So you are indebting yourself. You are stealing prosperity away from the population, stealing money today, hoping that you're going to be able to pay it back, but you don't have enough to pay it back. So you keep on borrowing, and over time the system crumbles. You see what I mean? So a return to a gold back is definitely not the answer, because the people who have control of the money supply will always abuse the power, and they get away with it because most people don't understand, they don't question. But let's focus on the biggest economy, which is the US, because, well, they have the global reserve currency, right? The US also used to be backed up by gold up until the late 1970s. That's when they got off the gold standard. Even though they're not backed up by gold, they have a big military, they have a big influence on a lot of countries. I won't get into much details of how all the countries got off the gold standard. I'll link a video that will describe it even better. So the US is not backed up by gold, but they have a big influence, big military. They force other countries to trade with the dollar. If you want to talk about the petrodollar, if you want to trade oil, you have to trade it with the dollar, right? So they're literally big bullies going around trying to force other countries to trade with the US dollar, which is not really backed up by anything. If people believe in it, that's how the system keeps on going, which is really sad, because when a leader in a particular country wants to bypass the US dollar to use something else, they'd be like, okay, so you don't want to trade with the dollar? Okay, fuck you, we're going to war. That's basically what it is. It's sad, but it's true. You have a lot of innocent people who lost their lives because of that. They try to silence the leader. If it doesn't work, well, they just eliminate them. That's basically what it is. And they control the media, so they use the media to make themselves look like the good guys. But we all know they're all murderers and bloody, but whatever. But there's certain countries who are coming together, forming an alliance. If you want to talk about the BRIC nations, for example, Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, China, coming together to use a system to trade with each other, bypassing the US dollar without cause like a major war. Well, I mean, I don't know. If you want to talk about Russia and China alone against the US, I mean, the consequences can be dire, right? But that's something for us to discuss about, something for you to look at in your own time. Or would there be, let's say, like a competition, or instead of having like one global reserve currency, you're going to have multiple and they're going to be able to trade with each other. That's also a possibility. Or maybe China is going to dominate the digital yuan. But regardless, let's bring back the US a little bit. I want to talk about a private entity that was created in the US back in 1913, the Federal Reserve. They have a big role to play when it comes to inflation and deflation. Let's take it back from the beginning and see how it works, how they pump the market with currency. So you have the Treasury Department, they issue bonds. A bond is basically, let's say I tell you, you know what, give me $5,000 and I promise to pay you back in 10 years with 5% interest. That's basically what a bond is. So the Treasury Department, they will issue the bonds. You have the central banks, the big banks, they buy the bonds from the Treasury Department, and the Federal Reserve buys a bond from the central banks. But the crazy thing is that the Federal Reserve will write a check to buy the bonds, but they don't have nothing in their account. Imagine you go to buy a car and you write a check for like $40,000, but you don't have nothing in your account. You get in big trouble for that, right? But somehow the Federal Reserve get away with it. Why? Because most people are not educated. They don't even know how it works. So they get away with it. So they write not even millions, trillions of dollars all the time. They just create currency out of nothing. Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department swapping checks and bonds just like that. And the people have no idea what's happening. But it doesn't stop there though, because the bank themselves, they also create currency. They do it through a process called fractional reserve lending. So basically, when you go to the bank to deposit your currency, they have the right to reserve only a fraction of your deposit and loan the rest out. Let's watch this video and come back.
If you deposit $100 in your account, the bank can legally take $90 of it and loan it out without telling you. The bank must hold $10 of your deposit in reserve just in case you want some of it. These reserves are called vault cash. But why does your bank account still say you have $100 if the bank has stolen $90 of it? Because the bank left IOUs it created, called bank credit, in its place. These are nothing but numbers that the banks type into their computers. And even though these bank credit IOU numbers are very different from base currency numbers, because they only exist in computers, they are still currency. So now there is $190 in existence. Now, the reason people take out loans from the banks is to buy something. They're going to buy a house or a car or something like that. So the borrower takes the $90 that the bank loaned to him from your account, and he pays the seller of the item. But then the seller deposits that currency into his account, and his bank loans out 90% of that and leaves bank credit numbers in its place. So now there's $271 in existence. This process repeats and repeats until under a 10% reserve ratio, an initial deposit of just $100 can create up to $1,000 of bank credit, all backed by $100 of vault cash, just 10%. But as I said, reserve ratios vary wildly. On some deposits, it's 10%, on others, it's 3%, and on some forms of deposits, reserve requirements are 0. The result is that the expansion of the currency supply by the banks is far greater than even this example would lead you to believe. So once again, when currency is deposited in the banks get to lend it out, and then it gets redeposited and relent, redeposited and relent, redeposited and relent over and over again, creating bank credit all the way. This is where the vast majority of our currency supply comes from. In fact, 92 to 96% of all currency in existence is created not by the government, but here in the banking system. Now, massive amounts of currency spewing into society may at first sound like a fun idea. That is, until you remember one of the most important hidden secrets of money from episode 1. That the prices of everyday goods and services act as a sponge on an expanding currency supply. The more currency we have, the more prices rise. This is where inflation comes from.
So you see how these people are literally stealing money from us, creating money, just enriching themselves and making us poorer and poorer every single day. Why? Because most people are not educated. And the crazy part, we work to pay some of the debts with our tax money. But that's not even it though. If you want to talk about demographics, so you have this population a couple of decades ago, let's say you had 50 million of babies started working and consuming, creating things, whatever. And the government printed, let's say $20 trillion. And over time, those people decided that they don't want to have a lot of children. So when you print the money, you create the money out of nothing to take care of that population, promising to pay it back with those taxpayers' money. And those taxpayers decide that they're not going to have a lot of children. So now, instead of having, let's say, 50 million newborn or 100 million newborn, you only have 20 million newborn. So those people are going to work to try to pay the money that their fathers, grandparents created. But they're not in large numbers, so how they going to pay it back? So you see how demographic also has a big role to play with the currency system. You don't have a lot of people to pay back the debts that were created, decades ago. And their generation also printing money. So how are you going to pay it back? You see, I really urge you to watch those videos. I started watching it. I was fortunate enough back in 2020, case 19, the lockdown. That's when I started watching those videos. And I still go back to it once in a while. It's very, very important. You have to watch it. You have to understand why. A lot of people complain about the prices rising. You go to the grocery store. I used to buy this thing for like $5. Now it's $15. You complain, but you don't really ask yourself why this is happening. Watch the videos. You will know exactly why this is happening. How they're stealing money from us. You'll be able to detect the theft. It's very important. The same way that when you get off work and you binge watch Netflix videos or whatever series that you're watching, this is the same way you have to treat those videos. It's not to entertain yourself, it's to educate yourselves. We are living in crucial times right now. If you don't get ready, you don't prepare yourself, what's going to happen the next 3-5 years? You're going to wake up and look around and say, holy, it's going to be too late for you because you were too busy discussing nothing. Just entertaining yourself, having fun. There's a lot of videos that I recorded, but I'm not even going to put them out yet unless I release the videos about the finance part because it's very important. Like, we have to educate ourselves. Things are moving fast. You don't see it. Because when you're sleeping, these people are building behind closed doors. They're signing laws. They literally, like every single day is something new happening. But most people are not educated on the subject. So that's why I have to put those videos out there. There's the so-called boring videos. How is it boring? You working every day for the dollars, but you don't even know how it works. So how can it be boring? So those people are stealing money away from you all the time. And you don't bother to question why. You just complain. You want to point the fingers and blame the banks, the central banks, the Federal Reserve. But it's like a failed relationship. You cannot just blame one person. Both sides had a good part to play in it. They get away with it because the public is ignorant. And then I try to know why. It's like the Roman time, the circus. When Rome was falling, then they were having this circus going on in the Colosseum. Give the public distracted. So they don't have time to think. They just entertain themselves, being fools and all. So the people at the top, they get away with whatever. But keep them fed, keep them drunk, make them happy. 3-5 years, you wake up realizing that a lot of things have changed. Now you are getting fed by the government treasury, universal basic income, stuck in the metaverse, trying to find a meaning to life. Why? Because you were not asking questions. You were just being like a zombie, day-to-day routine, same things over and over, nothing ain't changing. I really urge you to watch those videos. I will link the video to this specific one, but I also link the video in the description for the entire series. Only 10 episodes, on average like 25 minutes each. You watch like at least 5 Netflix episodes every day. Stop fooling yourself. Stop telling me that, I'm doing that. You spend all your time scrolling on IG and TikToks or whatever. Watch those videos. You will learn a lot. I'll still go back to it because every single time I watch the videos, I'll learn something new. It's like reading a book for your 3rd time, 4th time, 5th time. You learn something new every time. That's how I treat those videos. It's like that one passage in the Bible. I'm not a fanatic when it comes to the subject and religion, but what they say, my people perish from lack of knowledge, not because it's not available to them, but because they ignore it. Something like that. You know what I mean? I'll put it on the screen. But it's true. You have literally thousands of videos out there for free. And most of the things that I learn are for free. I spend months and years on it. There's some things that I pay for, but most of the things that I learn are for free. People who literally spend money to make documentaries, to make episodes for you to watch so you can educate yourself, so you can get ahead in life. Because there's a problem. This is what's happening. Why the prices are rising. This is what's happening. You have the solution. Would you should you invest in certain commodities? Should you invest in this? Should you when you watch the videos, you would know where to position yourself, because they're robbing wealth away from you. So you will know where to position yourself, where to put your currencies, where to put your money. So that way you can benefit from the stupidity that's going around. It's literally for your own good. People who sacrifice hours, weeks, months, years to make free content so you can educate yourself. But nah, I'm just gonna turn on the TV and watch a little episode of whatever's going on Fuckflix to fuck my mind and fuck my life over. And then when things are not going right, I would turn around and point the finger, blame this person, because that's what everybody else is doing. So that's what I do as well. You literally have people in their 60s and 70s working at certain jobs, pushing carts because they're not able to retire with the little money that they've made. You have people working every single, they can afford to retire, and you joking around. Every single time I go to those stores, like, I feel really bad, man. It's people really old. They can't even really walk properly, man. Just pushing cars, carrying heavy objects. Hair is all white. When you look at them, you can see the sadness in them. There's people at the top robbing all the time. They're robbing them. They're not even able to retire. They're working all those years, and they can't even sit still. And you think this is a joke. Let's keep fucking around. I said what I had to say. The next video is going to be about the rise of the emerging markets. See where the world is heading the next couple of years. Because the power is shifting from the west to the east. If you're not able to recognize and see the opportunities going around. That's the reason why I bring digital assets all the time. That's why I have to make a separate videos on the digital assets, because there's a lot of confusions going on. It's a new asset class. The people who are controlling the money system right now, the currency system, they are also investing in digital assets. You are focusing on the little scams going around. Every single time there's a new player in town, you will have other fake projects who will try to mimic the good ones. And the news will focus on the bad ones, so that way you don't put your money in it. You are scared. You really think it's a scam. But the people who are controlling the big banks right now, they're literally investing in digital assets. But you think it's a scam. I'll make a separate video on that. Like I said before, I feel like I was put in a place where I was fortunate enough to learn about it. So I feel like it's my responsibility to put it out there. The few people who will listen to it and take action, congrats. The rest, see you in 10 years. Tell me how life's gonna be for you. Anyways, I'm out of here.
The Roman Empire used the same techniques. Go back and look at the tactics. It's antique, but still relevant. The Colosseum was in place to take attention away from the public so they can manipulate them easily. God damn, I got to agree, them people so smart. Reason why they've been ruling for that long. Things ain't changed that much though. Look around you, NBA, NFL, Netflix, the media, video games, clubs. Should I add some more?